And Stuart here with the Stuart Group Real Estate at eXp Realty, and we're talking about what did these interest rates do to us in the last, I don't know, a few weeks? Well, a lot, to be honest. And I wanted to share this experience because I think it's important for people who don't do what I do every day to understand how it affects the real estate market. Like we all know interest rates have been high, but what does that do to the market specifically? So when we were in early November, October timeframe, interest rates hit 8%. It was ugly. And it was ugly because the market came what felt like to a screeching halt, or it just slowed way, way down. You could feel it as an agent in the market who's active, because if you carry listings, the showings just go like they go from a certain tempo down to a very low tempo. And activity really slows down. You can sense it even with buyers who are earnest about buying a house. They tend to get a lot more fickle. The feedback tends to be a little harsher. You just notice buyers just aren't really in the mood to like pull the trigger on anything unless it's absolutely like, a 10 out of 10. And it makes the market really, really difficult. So we saw a lot of inventory sitting on the market. We saw a lot of more days on market climbing. We just saw a lot less demand overall. And also, I'm connected with a big network locally of agents who sell, and we all collaborate collectively and check in with one another. And I can tell you that the majority of us were calling each other saying, is it quiet over there? Are you getting showings? How your open house has been? All of that. So it just gets really, really quiet and slow. Well, just recently, interest rates came down because we had some really good inflation reports. In fact, CPI seemed to be on the positive and looking like it's trending. So all of a sudden, what happens when we go from a fear-based market to an optimistic-based market, and literally it can shift in a matter of days or hours. Interest rates, as of the time I'm recording this, are right around 7.25% to 7.3%, depending. And that feels like a big difference compared to 8%. So what happened? We instantly got a boost in showings. We instantly saw a lot more buyer activity out there. Maybe the open houses have been a little more robust. There's been a lot more phone calls. And so we are an interest rate driven market, meaning if interest rates go up, activity tends to follow. And we are all subject to it. Nobody's, outside of that. Now, if they stay at high levels of 8, that can really, really, really play a role in downward pressure on pricing. We've seen a tremendous amount of price reductions all over Portland and almost every neighborhood, even though maybe inventory has been a little stagnant here and there because affordability. So let's talk about affordability for just one moment. I think it's important to keep perspective on affordability because what a lot of people don't understand is that not more than 3 years ago, interest rates were low enough that the interest rates of 3 years ago compared to the interest rates of today meant you could buy 50% more house for your money. That is significant. But with that, the payments have gone up the same. And so a lot of people are trying to understand like, well, what's this affordability thing? Well, if you're a buyer and you're experiencing what it looks like to get pre-approved for a mortgage and you're looking at your mortgage payments, you're astounded at what your payment looks like compared to what it maybe was just 2.5 to 3 years ago in the booming cycle of COVID. Now, I don't anticipate that interest rates are going to drop heavily. I don't know that we're ever going to see those 3% interest rates again. I do anticipate that if we stay on this inflation trajectory of keeping it low, that interest rates are probably going to bounce at the best case scenario in the 6s. And even in the 6s, I think the market could bounce back a little bit because we were doing pretty good in that environment once we got over the shell shock from moving from 3% to 6%. So just watching those interest rates, you can sense how the market's going to flux. Also, seasonality plays a role in this, of course. But when you have interest rates high and low inventory and a market that is affordability challenged, it can be very challenging out here regardless.